about the sodium-potassium pump and making connections within the curriculum. In this video, I will cover making ATP models, scaffolding and assessing models with rubrics, how the sodium-potassium pump works, using scripts to help students understand difficult events, and the transfer of these models. The basic building block of all of these interconnected models is ATP, so I start out by asking students to make a model of ATP. This is not a complicated model. I allow 10 minutes and ask them to use whatever materials are easily available. There does not need to be any prep on your part. I do provide a rubric that serves as a scaffold as well as a formative assessment checklist. The student task is primarily to make a moving, reusable model of ATP, which can show its transition to ADP and AMP. There are various specific elements within the rubric. Students should self-assess with the rubric before presenting to their peers, who may offer formative assessment with the rubric checklist. Use the student's ATP model as you introduce the sodium-potassium pump, then transition them to the standard model seen here for convenience in future modeling. Each student receives this model set to manipulate as we learn about the sodium-potassium pump. I've found it helpful to use a script when teaching complex processes. The actions are complex and the words are complex, but practicing both together increases student understanding. This video shows the action and script in practice. In the sodium-potassium pump, cytoplasmic sodium binds. There's a high affinity for sodium in this conformation. Sodium binding stimulates phosphorylation by ATP. Phosphorylation causes a shape change, lowers the sodium affinity, and increases the affinity for potassium. The potassium binding causes the phosphate to be released. The conformation changes back to the original, and the cycle repeats. After working the pump, students are prepared to answer questions like those posed here. As they think about how the pump could break, the emphasis is on the possibilities related to biology topics they have studied. Emphasize things like changes in DNA or protein structure. The sodium-potassium pump and ATP model fit with another model, the plasma membrane model. This slide is from the guiding PowerPoint on cell communication, where students build the plasma membrane. This shows the model students use. Model pieces used throughout all of my models are color-coded. Yellow pieces are carbohydrates, green is used for lipids, and red for nucleic acids. All proteins are colored orange, and notice the sodium-potassium pump is used here in miniature. After studying membranes, there's a natural bridge to study the action potential in the neurons, since it is membrane dependent. Students each receive a bag containing these model pieces. You will see they are the same ones used for the sodium-potassium pump alone, with the addition of voltage-gated sodium and potassium channels. The models are used in the action potential lesson shown here. Students learn about the triggers for an action potential, and when the threshold is reached, they sequentially move sodium into the cell and potassium out. They perform this action in turn, one after the other, down the table in a wave. After they move their ions through the voltage-gated channels, they reset the membrane potential using the sodium-potassium pump. In the last step, students at the end of the neuron move a vesicle of neurotransmitter to the membrane, releasing it into the synapse, then landing on a receptor. The receptor is a different type of protein model found in the plasma membrane model and lesson. Modeling is a powerful strategy for student understanding. There are some things I have found that make models most effective. One is keeping the essence of the model shape similar where possible. Color coding pieces to indicate the macromolecule class is important as students begin to apply characteristics of the macromolecule class to specific situations. Reusing models in different settings increases transfer, and using student-made models is valuable. This video covers many AP objectives. Below, I selected just a few specific learning objectives to show you how the activities here connect to the science practices on modeling and are specific content-wise to the information in the video. These model pieces are designed to be teacher-friendly, requiring little more than copying onto colored paper. You can find the templates to Xerox within the appropriate lesson here in this Dropbox folder. More important than the specific models is the idea of the interconnections within biology as you look beyond the surface. Good luck with the sodium-potassium pump specifically and modeling in general. Until next time, this has been your AP